Thanks everyone for joining today. We're just waiting for a few more to come in. So we'll just give it about 30 seconds to allow everyone to join the call today. I think we've got a few more coming in, guys, but there's an enormous amount of people on the call today, so we'll get underway. I'd like to thank Nick Hockley for joining us today, and thanks to all the media for coming along for this conversation. As always, guys, please keep your cameras off and your microphones on mute unless such time as I've come to you for a question. As I say, we've got an enormous amount of people on the call, so no doubt we won't be able to get to everyone. So we'll limit it to one question each to start, and we'll see how we're going for time a little bit later. If you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll try to get to everyone as we can, as humanly possible. So Nick will start with a short statement and then we'll throw to questions. So if I'll hand over to Nick to get us underway.
Thank you, Cole, and thank you everyone for joining me today. As you know, Justin Langer has resigned as head coach of the Australian men's cricket team. We held discussions last night about extending Justin's contract to take in the T20 World Cup in Australia later this year. We're disappointed that Justin decided not to accept this extension and instead resign effective immediately. But we understand and respect his decision. Justin has been an outstanding coach of the Australian men's cricket team over the past 4 years. His impact has been fundamental to restoring trust and respect in the team. He's led some great successes, including retaining the Ashes in England, and of course the recent T20 World Cup victory and winning the Ashes 4-0 this summer. He's not only a legend of the game, but an outstanding individual. His passion, his dedication and commitment is second to none. As we said we would, following the Ashes, we did a thorough evaluation of the team's needs going forward. We recognise that the team has evolved and the requirements and the needs of the head coach have also evolved. These decisions are never easy, and I understand, especially given how admired and respected Justin is as an absolute legend of the game, that many people will be disappointed by the decision to only offer Justin a short-term contract. They'll also be disappointed by this outcome. The decision to start a process of transition is what we believe is in the best interests of the men's team for unity and future success. On a personal note, and on behalf of Cricket Australia, I'd like to sincerely thank Justin and his family for everything they have given to the role over the past 4 years. We're eternally grateful. As per our earlier statement, Andrew McDonald has been appointed as interim head coach. And Cole, I'll now take any questions.
Thank you, Nick. We'll start off with Malcolm Conn.
Nick, can you please run us through how you or Cricket Australia see the coaching setup going forward now that Andrew McDonald's been appointed on an interim basis?
What we've built over recent time is just a huge amount of strength across the leadership. As I said, we're appointing Andrew as the interim. Andrew will be the head coach for the Sri Lanka T20 internationals coming up, which was previously announced, and to Pakistan. And then now, given the news of earlier today, we'll take the needs analysis that we've done and develop that into a fuller process for the permanent appointment of a head coach. But we're extremely we're obviously disappointed that Justin hasn't accepted the extension, but we're extremely fortunate to have such a capable and experienced coach in Andrew McDonald to step into the role on an interim basis.
Thank you.
Mel Farrell.
Thanks, Cole. Hey, Nick, just given the way that this is all unfolded very publicly and quite messy, I know that you said that all along it was going to be decided after the Ashes, but in retrospect, did the lack of clarity surrounding the succession or the length of Justin's tenure post that August meeting mean that it perhaps should have been handled differently and there should have been more clarity earlier to avoid this?
No, I think we've obviously, I mean, it's been quite a journey. There have been challenges over the last 12 months, and it was well documented that we had some pretty robust and conversations after coming back from Bangladesh, which was actually a really constructive process that led to role clarity. It led to really seeing how that we wanted to approach the Ashes and the T20 World Cup very much on a project basis. And we said at the outset, and again to give clarity to all, that we would then sit down at the end of the Ashes and do a full evaluation and a needs analysis of going forward, and that is what that's what we've done. So look, I think the level of interest of public scrutiny is, it's clearly been difficult. It's been difficult for everyone, but we felt that it was really important to do a thorough process, and we felt it was really important to do that post the Ashes, so that there were no distractions for that really, really important series.
Lockie McCurdy.
Thanks, Cole. Hey, Nick. In your opening statement there, you mentioned about the process of transition that you kind of want to start now in this coaching role. With that in mind, just for confirmation's sake, this 6-month contract that was offered to Justin, would that definitely have been the last contract he would have been offered as Australian coach, or was there scope for him to continue beyond that time?
I know we were pretty clear with Justin that it was for a period of transition. So again, we want to be clear and respectful to him. Justin has done a fantastic job. Made a significant shift, but when we sat down and looked at the needs of the team going forward, we felt that the team has evolved, the team's needs the requirements of the head coach had evolved. So we were very, very clear that we were looking at a short-term extension.
Christy Doran.
Thank you. Hi, Nick. A couple of scathing comments from a couple of legends of Australian cricket. Ricky Ponting described the recent events, the handling of both Langer and Payne, as almost embarrassing. And Matthew Hayden labelled some of the comments recently by Pat Cummins as garbage. How do you reflect on that and hearing some of those comments?
I mean, I think we have really done what we said we'd do, which would be a very thorough process. I think we've been clear to everyone involved. I think, and that process involves speaking to a range of stakeholders. It's, I think we obviously respect, respect the views of the greats of the game, but really feel that what the process that we've undertaken, we've done thoroughly. We've done in the best interests of Australian cricket. We've been very clear with everyone throughout that process. And I think if there has been over the course of this week a huge amount of media scrutiny, and these decisions are not straightforward and are not always going to be popular. So, but what I do feel confident is that we've done a proper process. We've looked at future needs. We've consulted broadly, and we feel that the team has evolved, and it is now the time to start a period of transition.
Thanks.
Ben Horn.
Nick, you said in those opening remarks that the team, there was a need for unity in the team going forward. Does that mean that you feel that Justin's presence as coach was causing disunity amongst the players and staff?
I think there were in the middle of this year we did have some challenging conversations and some issues, and I think credit to absolutely everybody throughout the national team's setup for having some really robust and direct conversations and creating that real project focused and clarity as to roles and responsibilities. And I think, a feature of the last two campaigns is that everyone has stepped up, has owned their space, been accountable and performed superbly. I think as we've evaluated the future needs, I think it's really important. We've now got an incredible group of leaders, whereby the chair of the national selection panel, George Bailey, Tony Dodemaide, really taking a very much more integrated involvement in the team. We've got three fantastic assistant coaches, and I think with that level of leadership across the group, we're now evolving to the next phase of a more shared leadership model. So, I think Justin's contract, it was always for a 4-year period. I think if we think about the journey when JL started, I think where the team is now, JL deserves the most enormous amount of credit for where he's brought the team from and to. And as I said, now is the time. The team has evolved, and now is the time to start that period of transition.
Scott Bailey.
Yeah, Nick, just on the 6-month contract or the short-term contract you offered, I mean, do you honestly believe that any head coach in a top-tier sporting league or coach for a national side of prominence would accept a 6-month deal? And just a quick follow-up, sorry, if I could just clarify, in regards to Mau's question, are you looking for one coach as a replacement or two across red and white ball formats?
Firstly, I'd say JL's contract was always a 4-year contract. This is a really demanding role. We felt that, as I said, the team had evolved. We're ready for a period of transition. We very much felt that Justin had earned the right to defend the T20 World Cup on home soil, and that worked in with that period of transition. As for splitting the roles, I think it remains our intention to keep an overarching head coach role, but certainly, as you'll see with the upcoming Sri Lanka series, it was always the intention that Andrew McDonald would lead that series. So I think going forward, we've got such an exciting and important period of cricket. We've got 7 Test series, 3 on the subcontinent. We've got 2 World Cups, 1 at home over the next 18 months. And I think taking that very much project by project focus. So the current plan is to look to appoint a permanent successor to Justin, but we will continue to take a very project-focused approach to each of the series because it's worked so well over the course of this summer.
Thanks.
Brady.
Nick, you spoke just before about accountability and how the team performed superbly on the back of those conversations. So then how do you find yourselves in this position where the coach is gone? And in following to that, have you ceded too much power to the players now, the fact that they're basically able to overthrow the coach?
Well, I think, I think obviously we're absolutely delighted with the success of these last two campaigns. I think, I think it is, we can't overlook the fact that we have had some issues in the past, and I would commend everybody for the shift that they made, including JL made a significant shift over the course of this summer. So in answering your question about is it difficult given the recent success, our evaluation has been purely future focused. We've been looking at what is coming up. We've been looking at how leaders across the group have stood up, and as I said, the team has evolved significantly, and JL deserves enormous credit for that. But moving forward, we felt it was time to transition, and over the course of a period. But obviously that now has will need to be accelerated. But transition to a new phase. In terms of your question on player power, now I think we've got some exceptional leaders across the Australian men's team, across both the Test and white ball squads. What we've seen, a feature of this last summer, is when people are given an opportunity, they step up. We've got huge strength in depth. More broadly, we've got leaders, across the national selection panel, across the coaching group, and we have consulted, and our review has been really broad in terms of the stakeholders that we've spoken to. And as I said, the needs analysis, the requirements of the head coach have evolved, and on that basis, we felt it was time to start a transition process, hence the shorter term contract.
Dan Brettig.
Hi, Nick. You've said numerous times here today that the requirements for the head coach have evolved. Can you just describe how they have evolved, what they are going to be, and why you and the board ultimately decided that Justin wasn't going to be able to fulfill that long term?
So I think what we've seen is we've seen specialists, bowling, batting, fielding coaches kind of really step up and own their departments, and it's very much that more overseeing strategic role. I think let's not forget where we were when Justin started. I think he has brought so much to the setup. He's brought a real level of discipline, commitment. He has brought incredible values of to the group, and what we see now is across the whole group, including the players, the senior leaders. We've got a fantastic new captain in Test captain in Pat Cummins. We're seeing everybody step up. So the role going forward is I would say is what we're trying to, if you like, the evolution is everybody stepping up, owning their space and taking accountability.
Sam Landsberger.
Hi, Nick. Just wondering whether you could confirm whether Ben Oliver actually wanted to propose a longer contract extension, and just clarify what more Justin could have done in a results-based industry to get a longer offer.
Ben and I have obviously spent a long time working through and discussing. It has been a difficult decision, but and it was a very lengthy discussion at the board. But ultimately, there was consensus that this was the right way forward. And I mean, also the board was unanimous in endorsing the approach. So I think equally everyone is. It can't be understated what JL has achieved, and I think we're all extremely keen to make sure that he is recognised for how far what he's contributed and how far he's brought this team, and I think it's for that he deserves enormous credit.
Raj.
Thanks, Paul. Hi, Nick. How much of this decision is attributable to the dissatisfaction of the players, you think, with Justin's style of working?
No, I think, again, Justin's original contract is a 4-year period, finished mid this year. We were always going to be reviewing where we were at this point in time. And I think we've consulted really widely, and we've looked at the requirements of the role going forward. So we took into account a range of factors. There were issues in the middle of last year, and I think everyone really leaned in to address those. But for this decision is very much taking a future focus to put in place a sustainable model that we think is in the best interests of the team and where it is at this point in time.
Bernie Cohen. We can't hear you there, Bernie. We'll go to Dan Cherney.
Hi, Nick. Were you fearful that support staff and perhaps, I suppose, even some players perhaps might have retired or left early had Justin been offered a longer deal? Was that a consideration?
No, that wasn't a consideration. Again, the consideration was, what's in the best interest of the team, given where it's at, and given that evolution.
Sorry, folks. Just got 2 more here. We'll go to Bharat and we'll try to finish off with Bernie Cohen. Bharat.
Thanks, Cole. Hey, Nick. No, just based on what you've been saying about the evolution of coaching itself and the head coach role itself, are we heading to a period where there is no need for a head coach, really? I mean, is it more about just a lot of coaches playing specific roles, like is happening or like has been happening? Even George Bailey seems to be stepping into a coaching role these days.
That's certainly not in our thinking in the forward structure. I mean, again, what has been what's great about the team that has been built, and the quality of coaching staff and leaders that we have around the group is that everyone has stepped up. So I think something that we'll consider going forward is who takes a leading role on particular campaigns or particular series. That's something that we've been talking about, but certainly we think it's really important to have an overarching head coach. We think it's really important to have a level of continuity and connection between the different formats. We have a good number of all format players, and so having a really integrated overarching coaching setup, albeit there's a project by project focus, we think is really important.
Thanks, guys. Last one here, Bernie Cohen, if you're there.
Okay, hopefully, Nick, you can hear me this time. Sorry about that. How much of a say or influence did Pat Cummins have in the short-term decision about Justin Langer? How much input did he have?
So we certainly consulted Pat. We consulted a range of people. We spoke to Aaron, but we consulted much more broadly than that. Again, as I said, really, the focus has very much been on an evaluation of what the needs are going forward, I would say again, over the course of the summer, after some very difficult discussions, everyone has really stepped up. We've got a much clearer view of how people step up and take accountability for their own roles and responsibilities, and on that basis, and that's speaking to the selectors. It's speaking more broadly across the staff. We felt the time was now to start a process of transition. We're disappointed that that is now having to be accelerated. We really would have loved JL to stay on and defend that T20 World Cup at home, but certainly the thinking was that now is the time to look forward to the next phase.
Thanks, Nick, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. We'll wrap it up there, guys. Thanks so much for joining, and we'll catch up with you all next time. Thank you.